We have been conditioned to think white armor equals good. For 20 years, we've treated Falador as the moral compass of Gielinor, a city of light, order, and justice. But if you actually dig into the Asgarnian archives, a much darker picture starts to emerge. It appears this is a kingdom being protected, but look a little closer and you'll find it's a kingdom being occupied. While we were busy killing goblins and cows, a group of religious extremists quietly dismantled the monarchy and replaced it with a surveillance state. Today, we're exposing the righteous evil of the White Knights. If you want to find the truth about the regime, you don't ask the people in power, you look at the historical record. In the Verok Museum, tucked away in display case 33, there is a single sentence that should change how you see Falador forever. Reading the description of this case containing white armor reveals a bizarre truth. It says the White Knights, quote, took advantage of a sick king to seize control for themselves. King Vallance, the official ruler of Asgarnia, hasn't been seen in years. There is no cutscene, no NPC model, no proof of life. Survivin, a ranked White Knight officer, claims the king was just old and tired, but while the king is resting, his throne has been effectively hijacked. A takeover of a city by stealth and a targeted hit on a bloodline. You see, King Vallance has a son, Crown Prince Anlaf, the rightful heir to the Asgarnian throne. But instead of ruling from the capital, Anlaf has been shoved off to Berthop, a tiny settlement on the edge of a war zone. Talk to Commander Denulf of the Berthop Imperial Guard, and the mask slips. He'll tell you straight up, the White Knights are the ones in control, and they're actively looking for an excuse to crush the last of the king's loyalists. Denulf is currently holding the line in a bloody war against the trolls, but his real battle is financial. You see, the White Knights are threatening to pull his funding. They've manufactured a win or die scenario. If the Imperial Guard can't clear Death Plateau, they'll be disbanded, and Berthorp, the prince's final stronghold, will fall under total White Knight occupation. Think about it. The king is missing. The prince is being starved of resources in a northern war, and then there's the princess Myazqua, the king's great niece, who is living in isolation, reduced to holding a dwarf captive. No, really, she's currently holding a dwarf hostage. This is unless you've completed the Grim Tales quest. By year 163, Sir Amic Vars achieved what he wanted. He stepped in as regent, and while doing so, effectively neutralized the entire royal family. Some say he saved the throne, but to me, it seems that he made sure no one was left to challenge him when he sat on it. Every regime needs a boogeyman to justify its budget, and for the White Knights, that's the Kinshra. We know them as the Black Knights, the generic villains in black armor, some with spiked shoulder pads. But for 155 years, the Kinshra weren't outlaws like they are today. They were the official, state-sanctioned defenders of Asgarnia. Just look at their leader, Lord Dequarius Renard. By all means, he appears fit to lead. He was born in Falador. He was unanimously elected to lead. Even a secret dossier written by the White Knights themselves admits he's undeniably noble. Unlike previous leaders, Dequarius actually risks his life to save his own people. The White Knights even admit they prefer him in power because he's less radical and predictable. So, if he's a noble, predictable leader, why the war? Because the Kinshra's real crime wasn't evil, it was their religion. They were Zamorakians in a kingdom that Sir Amic Vars wanted to be exclusively Saradominist. Now, we could go into a debate about Zamorak versus Saradomin, but there's plenty of evidence on both sides to say that either gods could be deemed evil or at least unethical. In year 163, after the real king fell ill, Sir Amic Vars moved to sideline them. He declared they had zero political influence. he erased 155 years of service with a single decree, effectively forcing a civil war to justify his own military expansion. Now, look at how the White Knights handle the threat they created. They send you, the player, to sabotage the Kinshra. Why? Because Sir Amic Vars claims their charter forbids espionage. This is a convenient lie. In fact, they have a specialized order called the Temple Knights, specifically for shadow work, yet they manipulate an independent adventurer, you, to do the dirty work. If you get caught or killed inside that fortress, the White Knights can shrug and claim they had nothing to do with it. You aren't their hero, no, you're more like a legal loophole. You are the plausible deniability that allows Sir Amic to maintain his image of holy honor while he orchestrates the total destruction of his political rivals. They've backed the Kinshra into a corner, forced them into the Tavali dungeons and the wilderness border. And now they use the very plots they provoked as a reason to never let go of the throne. It's a perfect, self-sustaining cycle of conflict. But back to these Temple Knights, the so-called elite. To the average citizen of Falador or surrounding towns, they're just a rumour, a fable told to keep people in line. But we, the player, find out something more. It is revealed once we are finally recruited to the Order that the regular White Knights, the ones you see walking around Falador Castle, aren't the ones actually running Asgarnia. They're more like the window dressing. Sir Hijacking, head of recruitment for the Temple Knights, calls them the Premier Order. But listen to how he describes their jurisdiction. He openly admits that the higher-ranking members have almost absolute power over the kingdom. They don't answer to the king, no. They don't answer to the people either. Sir Tiffy claims they only answer to Saradomin himself. But here's the catch. Saradomin hasn't walked the earth in ages. So how is this possible? Well, Tiffy admits that the only man, the head of operations, Sir Vallance, has actually met Saradomin. A bit suspicious to say the least. Every order, every arrest, every secret operation is filtered through this one man. If Sir Vallance says the gods want a political rival removed or a prince sidelined, the Temple Knights do it without question. It almost seems to be a dictatorship, but just with a religious skin. Sir Tiffy, on the other hand, mocks the regular White Knights, calling them incompetent fools, and that any fool with a sword can join. It's clear that the Temple Knights view themselves as a superior species. They operate in total secrecy because, as Tiffy puts it, they have more authority than the king. They are labelled as the front line of defence. But look a little closer and they're more like the backroom puppeteers. And they aren't as holy as they want you to believe. This becomes obvious when you head down to the Lumbridge Swamp and talk to Juna, a 6,000-year-old guardian who literally saw the God Wars. She doesn't see them as heroes. When you mention that you work for the Temple Knights, she straight up warns you that their intentions may not be what they seem. Just think about that. Juna is a neutral guardian of balance. She has seen empires rise and fall for millennia. If she's flagging the Temple Knights as a threat, it's because she recognizes a pattern we're too young or naive to see. The shining light of the Temple Knights is just a blindfold to keep us from seeing the strings that they are pulling. The White Knights are obsessed with order, and it isn't just a political stance. It appears to be more like a sickness. And nowhere is that more obvious than in their handling of the sea slugs. Wretched creatures with the ability to mind control their prey. This monster hunt is a centuries-old biological catastrophe that the Temple Knights have been covering up since the 4th Age. Thousands of years ago, a creature named Mother Mullum emerged from the depths to possess the world's political leaders. The Temple Knights fought a crusade against her, but they didn't win. They just settled for a stalemate. They couldn't kill her, so they lured her into a cave and slapped a "keep out" sign on the door in an ancient Saradominus language. Fast forward to today, the slugs are back. They've turned the fishing platform into a hive and have completely subverted the village of Witchhaven. And what is the quote-unquote elite Temple Knight response? They send a semi-retired agent named Colonial to keep an eye on things, while an entire town essentially disappears overnight and returns in a dazed, mindless state. The Temple Knights claim to be the smartest, strongest order in the world, but they let a possessed mayor trick an adventurer into releasing the very queen they spent centuries trying to imprison. They literally handed over the keys to a global parasite. And when the slug prince was eventually slain and Mother Malum escaped, did they mobilize the army? Did they evacuate the coast? No. They stayed in the shadows. They'd rather let Witchhaven become the first fallen city of Gielinor than admit to the public their perfect Saradominist order failed. To the knights in Falador, the image of stability is more valuable than the lives of the villagers used as hosts. Now that is truly callous. It's the same pattern we see in Berthorpe. They are willing to defund the Imperial Guard, the only ones actually fighting a visible war, while pouring resources into a secret agency that can't even keep a slug in a cave. They tell the world that they are the protectors against chaos, but just seem to be managing the PR for their own incompetence. They'll let the rest of Gielinor burn, as long as the white walls of Falador stay polished and the secret of their failure stays buried under the sea. We call them heroes because it's easier than admitting we're working for a military junta. We wear the initiate and proselyte armor like badges of honor, never realizing we're wearing the uniform of a regime that hijacked a kingdom. The Black Knights are an easy target, but look a little closer. Some villains don't hide in dark fortresses. No, instead, they're the ones who convinced you that their order was worth your freedom. Next time you're in Falador, look at the knights, then look at the empty throne, and ask yourself, who are you really serving? Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing and throwing a like on here. And please let me know if there's another story you'd like me to cover next. See you next week with another video. Goodbye.